the NFL Draft.
I can't believe you guys are booing the Cowboys. Come on.
A time of importance for NFL franchises to get the pick right, and that could completely turn around the franchise forever. Or get the pick wrong and you're doomed for 10 more years of failure. Scouts do their best to evaluate talent for their organization, but ultimately, it's just a crapshoot. The wide receiver position is one of the most difficult to evaluate every single year. With the challenge of picking the best pass catcher of the entire draft class, it's rarely the first one selected. So let's go over the best and worst wide receivers taken in every draft since 2000.
Welcome to the first NFL college player draft of the new millennium.
Kicking things off for us is the 2000 draft class, which had two great wide receivers, but also two receivers that went in completely polar opposite directions. Let's start with Plaxico Burress with the pick at number 8. Burress was a consistent producer in the NFL, amassing over 8,000 yards and 64 touchdowns, including one crucial score in Super Bowl 42, in which the Giants beat the New England Patriots.
Manning lobs it. Burress alone. Touchdown, New York.
The wide receiver taken 4 selections before him, though, will go down as our first big bust. Peter Warrick was the 4th overall selection in the 2000 draft, but fell well short of the hype. He never topped more than 819 yards and was out of the league after just 6 seasons.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the 2001 NFL College Player Draft.
Now in 2001, it featured several high-profile names, including Steve Smith, Chad Ochocinco, and Santana Moss. But the most successful of the lot was one by the name of Reggie Wayne, who was taken with the 30th overall pick. After a slow start to his career, Wayne went on to post 14,345 yards and 82 touchdowns, earning himself an All-Pro selection and 6 Pro Bowls. He led the league in receiving in 2007 and won a Super Bowl with the Colts, who he spent his entire 14-year career with. At the other end of the spectrum, though, we have David Tyrell, who was taken 8th overall by the Bears, for whom he collected just 1,602 yards across his 4 seasons and never played another snap of ball.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon to football fans here and around the nation. Welcome to the 2002 National Football League College Player Draft.
In 2002, the best value didn't arrive until pick number 62, when Antoine Randall L. was selected by the Pittsburgh Steelers. It honestly was a relatively subdued class this year, with Randall landing as the best receiver taken, despite never topping 1,000 yards. Throughout his career, though, Randall collected 4,467 yards across 9 seasons, but he did get an All-Pro selection in 2005 and was nominated to the All-Rookie team in 2002. He also managed to nab a Super Bowl with the Steelers in 2005. Taken over 40 picks before him, though, was Ashley Lele, who was drafted by Denver in the 1st round to be a difference maker. Instead, the dude just lasted 4 years with the team before bouncing around the league and amassing just 742 yards from his final 3 seasons. And now in 2003, there was a lot of hype building around this wide receiver class, but we don't have to go past pick number 3 to get our first Hall of Fame pick from this draft class. Andre Johnson came off the board with the 3rd pick, becoming a Houston Texan. He was a surefire stud from the get-go, posting 14,185 yards and 70 touchdowns across 14 seasons in the NFL. He earned 2 All-Pro selections, 7 Pro Bowls, and led the league in receptions and receiving yards twice. His legendary status was solidified by being inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2024.
Andre Johnson, on behalf of the Pro Football Hall of Fame and every Hall of Famer that's ever played this game, we want to welcome you to football heaven. Welcome, bro.
The wide receiver taken before Johnson, though, might go down as the biggest bust we've ever seen at the position. Charles Rodgers' career was marred by injuries and legal issues, with the wideout playing just 15 games in his entire career, which spanned just 3 seasons. Tragically, Rodgers died at the age of just 38.
Thank you. And now we open the 2004 college draft.
1 year after Hall of Famer Andre Johnson entered the league, another potential Hall of Famer arrived in the form of Larry Fitzgerald. Just like Johnson, he was taken 3rd overall, this time by the Cardinals. Fitz went on to compete for 17 NFL seasons, racking up 17,492 yards and 121 touchdowns. For his efforts, Fitzgerald has earned an All-Pro selection, 11 Pro Bowls, and was named to the 2010s All-Decade team and the 100th anniversary team. Also taken in the top 10 of that year was Reggie Williams, who fell well short of the production that they were hoping for. After not passing 450 yards in his first 2 seasons, Williams hit a career best 629 yards in 2007. He did score 10 touchdowns that year, but dropped back to just 364 yards in his 5th and final year in the league.
Good afternoon to football fans here and around the nation. Welcome to the Jacob Javits Convention Center in New York City and to the 2005 National Football League College Draft.
The 2005 draft class featured the best wide receiver taken at pick 6. His name is Rodney White, and he went on to become the Atlanta Falcons' leading receiver until he was passed by Julio Jones. White posted 6 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons, earning 4 Pro Bowls and 1 All-Pro selection. He was a consistent producer for Atlanta, which cannot be said about Troy Williamson, who went 7th overall. But I mean, hey, when you have to fill the shoes of Randy Moss, I don't really ever think that's going to be an easy job to do. But when you can't catch the ball, that only makes it harder, and they shut the door on him pretty quickly because of that. In the 2006 draft class, taken by the Broncos in the 4th round, Brandon Marshall went on to pass 1,000 yards in 8 seasons, collecting over 12,000 yards and 83 touchdowns. This resulted in 6 Pro Bowls and an All-Pro selection, in addition to the honor of co-leading the league in touchdowns in 2015. And our bad pick of this draft came at pick 44 when the Giants selected Sonoric Moss. Despite winning a Super Bowl ring with the team, his time in New York was remembered more for his injuries. He produced just 26 receptions for 230 yards across his first 2 seasons. 2007, though, brought us possibly the greatest wide receiver we've ever seen play the sport, as 2007 marked the arrival of Calvin Johnson, otherwise known as Megatron. Johnson spent all 9 years of his career in Detroit, where, I mean, the dude was absolutely incredible.
Pulls the trigger. Johnson!
He collected 11,619 yards, leading the league in receiving in both 2011 and 2012. His 1,964 yards in 2012 set a new NFL record. He was a truly dominant force, passing 1,000 yards in all but 2 seasons and retiring as a legend in Detroit. The only downside of his career is that he was on such a poor Lions team.
Here comes Jared Allen, and he's out of bounds. Poor guy, I don't even know if he realized it. And that's a safety.
There were very few team achievements, but I mean, Megatron himself nabbed 3 All-Pros and 6 Pro Bowls, in addition to being named to the 2010s All-Decade team. But the guy who literally put no career even close to Calvin Johnson goes by the name of Craig Davis, who was picked at 30. He had a very unremarkable career that lasted just 4 years and produced a measly 558 yards over those 4 years. And now in 2008, I'm gonna go ahead and say it, but I think that it produced the greatest deep threat that we've ever seen come into the sport in Deshaun Jackson. He was taken with the 49th pick, going on to notch 11,263 yards and 58 touchdowns, primarily for Philadelphia and Washington. Jackson's elite speed landed him a 2nd-team All-Pro selection and 3 Pro Bowls. And our bust for 2008, I have absolutely no clue who he is in Donnie Avery, but he was the first wideout taken heading to the St. Louis Rams with the 2nd pick in the 2nd round. The dude struggled to make any sort of impact, never survived surpassing 700 yards and finding himself out of the league after just 6 seasons. Now in the 2009 draft, honestly, there really weren't any good wide receivers in this draft class that I could find, but one that did stand out to me that I always loved watching and just brings back some memories is Mike Wallace. Field, converting 538 receptions into 8,072 yards and 57 touchdowns across his 9 completed seasons. The wide receiver taken in 2009 with the most hype was Darius Hayward-Bay, who will unfortunately be the undisputed bust of this class. And I mean, despite being the first wideout taken, Hayward-Bay struggled with consistency and never passed the 1,000-yard mark. He managed to last somehow 10 years in the league, but accumulated just 2,897 yards to show for it. Kicking off the next decade though, in 2010 was Antonio Brown, who had to wait until the 6th round. Yes, Antonio Brown wasn't drafted until the 6th round of this draft. I mean, this was an absolutely loaded draft class with Demaryius Thomas, Des Bryant, Emmanuel Sanders, and Golden Tate also being taken. And I mean, despite him being possibly, I think, the last, or at least one of the last wide receivers taken in this draft, he was by far the most productive of the lot. As we all know, most of his success came in Pittsburgh, but it was with the Buccaneers in 2020 that he won his own. This resulted in 4 All-Pro selections, 7 Pro Bowls, and recognition in the 2010s All-Decade team. And the opposite success was achieved by Aurelius Ben at the time. He was drafted much higher than Brown, but fell miles short of production. After being taken at the top of the 2nd round, Ben managed just 5 seasons in the NFL and never made it past 1,000 yards. And I mean, honestly, the 2010s produced some of the greatest wide receivers that we have seen play the sport. And in 2011 was no different when Julio Jones was drafted and is going to be the star of this draft. AJ Green went a couple spots before him, making it a very special draft class. But I mean, Julio Jones was, I mean, the dude is just a physical specimen. And entering the league, he offered a size and speed combination that nobody had seen before. He has produced 13,703 yards and 66 touchdowns in his career so far, highlighted by a 2015 season that saw him lead the league with 136 receptions and 1,871 yards. He also led the league in receiving in 2018, as Julio is now a 2-time All-Pro player with 7 Pro Bowls as well. At the other end of the spectrum, we have Jonathan Baldwin, who had a lot of off-field injuries and just a lot of off-field issues, which made his pick at 26 by the Chiefs just completely useless pretty much.
Good evening. Welcome to prime time in the 2012 NFL Draft.
In 2012, though, T.Y. Hilton was by far the most productive receiver of that draft, accumulating under just 10,000 yards, 53 touchdowns, and 4 Pro Bowls after being taken in the 3rd round. And this next name I remember coming out of college, he had some remarkable moments and I even thought it was going to be good, but for the bust of this draft, we have to jump all the way up to the 5th overall selection where Justin Blackmon was taken by the Jacksonville Jaguars. As I said, I mean, the dude had all the tools to succeed, but constant legal issues completely derailed what could have been a promising career. He was arrested for driving under the influence prior to his rookie season, and then several other instances afterward meant that he played only 20 games as a professional. It's just not what you want from a 5th overall pick. 2013 though, we start to see some guys that are actually currently still producing for teams in the league, where we have DeAndre Hopkins and Keenan Allen, who have been the best producers from this draft class. I mean, in his 11 seasons in the NFL, Hopkins has played for 3 teams and racked up 12,355 yards and 78 touchdowns. He led all wideouts in touchdowns in 2017, with 13 of them also earning 3 All-Pros and 5 Pro Bowl selections. The bust of the 2013 class has to be Tavon Austin though. He was taken in the top 10 by the St. Louis Rams. And in the moment, I mean, it was honestly a strange pick by the Rams because he never really was going to be more than a gadget player, so I don't know why they wasted a top 10 pick on Tavon Austin. And I mean, when you never surpass 509 yards in a season, you're a certified bust. And as I said before, these upcoming draft classes are going to start to get stronger and stronger at the wide receiver position. Headlining a very strong 2014 class is Devontae Adams, who was taken after the likes of Mike Evans, Odell Beckham Jr., and Brandon Cooks, and before Jarvis Landry. Like, this is an epic wide receiver class, and to have Devontae Adams be the best wide receiver from that class tells you all you need to know about him. After a steady start to his career, Adams has hit the 1,000 yard mark in 5 of his last 6 seasons, resulting in 10,781 yards and 90 85 touchdowns. For his efforts, Adams has earned 3 All-Pros, 6 Pro Bowls, and was the league's leading receiver in 2020 and 2022. The bust of this class has to be Kelvin Benjamin, hands down. I mean, despite having a good rookie season, he also has one of the most viral clips of all time with Booger McFarland saying this.
When you look at Kelvin Benjamin, guys, he's 6'5", he's 245 pounds. He's probably a Popeye's biscuit away from being a tight end.
And I mean, honestly, ever since that, he's been really inconsistent and had a lot of injuries that have just honestly been the downfall of his career. In 2015, though, Stephon Diggs was the big name to emerge from the 2015 NFL draft, evolving into one of the league's most talented pass catchers after being taken in the 5th round. He is currently on a run of 6 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons, which started in Minnesota, continued in Buffalo, and will now move to Houston. He has posted 9,995 yards and 67 touchdowns, earning an All-Pro and 4 Pro Bowl selections. And the bust of this draft is one of the most notable wide receiver busts we have all heard before in Kevin White. I mean, the dude literally was never not injured, and because of that, he played 5 games in total in his first 2 seasons in the league. In his entire NFL career, he's played a measly 27 games, which has amounted for 397 yards. Like, that's one of the worst stat lines you can ever have as a wide receiver. 2016, though, saw the arrival of Tyreek Hill, another late-round selection who went on to become one of the league's best wide receivers. His blazing speed has helped him register 10,139 yards and 76 touchdowns in his first 8 seasons. After starting his career in Kansas City and helping them win a Super Bowl in 2019, Hill has moved to Miami, where he has posted 2 consecutive 1,700-yard seasons as a Dolphin. His 1,799 yards in 2023 led the NFL, as he has also had 5 All-Pros and 8 Pro Bowls, meaning that he has been selected in a Pro Bowl in every single season he has played. Michael Thomas is also another great selection you could have from this draft, but I'm not going to say that because of what he did to the Saints, realizing that he didn't need to play football in order to make money, but that's a whole nother story for a whole nother time. Now, on the polar opposite end of the spectrum, we have Corey Coleman, who was drafted as the 15th overall pick. Corey Coleman, yes. Just like you, I have no clue who this is. So we're moving on to 2017. In 2017, we saw the white boy that is just the greatest white wide receiver of all time, I'm gonna say it. Because despite recording just 2 seasons with over 1,000 yards, Cooper Kupp has unquestionably established himself as one of the most skilled receivers in the NFL since his draft selection in 2017. Injuries have plagued his career just a little bit, but I mean, his 2021 season will go down as one of the greatest wide receiver seasons we have ever seen been put together. Kupp led the league with 145 receptions, 1,947 yards, and 16 touchdowns. He also won the Super Bowl with the Rams in a game where he won the Super Bowl MVP award. Like, I mean, the dude literally did it all. On the bus side of things, we have John Ross, who, yes, he did run the fastest 40 time that was eventually broken by Xavier Worthy this year, but besides that, literally he jumped to like the 8th overall pick by the Bengals and then did nothing in his career. The dude can just run really fast in a straight line. And now I'm going to go on and say that the next 4 years of receivers is just uncomparable to any 4-year stretch we've had. We just have great wide receiver class after great wide receiver class after great wide receiver class in this 4-year span from 2018 to 2022. There might be one that's a little hiccup, but for the most part, they've all been legit. Like I said, 2018 was another good year for receivers with DJ Moore, Calvin Ridley, Cortland Sutton, and Christian Kirk all being taken in the first 2 rounds. Moore was the first taken, and he has been the best of the lot, notching 1,000 yards in 4 of his 6 seasons in the league. His best came in 2023, posting 1,364 yards in his first year as a Bear. The bust pick of this goes by the name of Dante Pettis, who was taken by the San Francisco 49ers and somehow wasn't successful in a Shanahan offensive system. That's all that you need to know about this dude. Like, if you're not successful in a Shanahan system, you're just bad. That's all. 2019 was another very strong year with AJ Brown, Marquise Brown, DK Metcalf, and Deebo Samuel all entering the league. The dominance of AJ Brown in Philadelphia bumps him up as the best wide receiver from this class, taking his tally up to 5,947 yards and 42 touchdowns from his first 5 years. During his young career, Brown has earned 2 second-team All-Pros and 3 Pro Bowl selections. N'Keal Harry was the second wide wide receiver taken with the final pick in the first round, and his career has really never amassed to anything as a New England Patriot. And again, when you're in an offensive system that really doesn't respect wide receivers, it's tough to make a living in New England. 2020, we saw Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, Brandon Ayuk, T. Higgins, and Michael Pittman all entering the fray. Like I said, this is a truly elite wide receiver group, which is exactly what Justin Jefferson made this group. After just 4 years in the NFL, he has collected 5,899 yards and 30 touchdowns, winning the NFL Offensive Player of the Year award for his league-leading 1,809 yards in 2022. Taken 10 picks before him was Henry Ruggs, who pled guilty to driving under the influence, resulting in a death and vehicle, halfway through his freshman season. So he's currently in prison and will never see the field again. So moving on to 2021. In 2021, another LSU superstar transitioned into the pro game, with Jamar Chase being selected with the 5th overall pick by Cincinnati. Just like his former teammate Justin Jefferson, Chase has taken the league by storm. His 1,455 yards as a rookie earned him the Offensive Rookie of the Year award, with 2 more 1,000-yard Pro Bowl seasons following that. I mean, again, the 2021 class was full of great picks, with Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith, and Nico Collins all being selected, but Dwayne Eskridge is the second round that stands out as the one-bag pick by the Seahawks. The 2022 wide receiver class was headlined by Garrett Wilson, who became a New York Jet with the 10th overall pick in the first round. Drake London and Chris Olave went either side of him, but Wilson's success as the Offensive Rookie of the Year makes him the number 1 in the class. There were 4 receivers taken in the top 12 picks, and it was Jamison Williams at 12 who was the bust. I mean, in all honesty, he's really not even that big of a bust and can completely turn his career around as long as he stays healthy in Detroit now. Which brings us to our most recent wide receiver draft class, the 2023 class, in which it featured Puka Nacua, Jordan Addison, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Jaden Reed. Ricard led all rookies and earned him a Pro Bowl and second team All-Pro honors as a rookie. Like, I mean, hell, had it not been for CJ Stroud, this dude would have won the Offensive Rookie of the Year award. But you see, his rookie story is the complete polar opposite of that of Quentin Johnston, who just cannot catch a football when it matters the most, when your team needs you in the dying minutes of the game. But good thing I have him on my dynasty team, because that's just fantastic for me, right? The dude that's not going to even play and is now in a Jim Harbaugh scheme because now they're just going to turn around and hand the ball off 30 times a game. Okay. Moving on to this year's class. The excitement surrounding the 2024 draft is completely through the roof. Marvin Harrison Jr. has for a long time been the consensus number 1 option, but Malik Neighbors is just as exciting, offering an explosive package that will be very enticing to NFL teams. There is a very valid argument to even take him before Harrison, but I mean, no matter your preference, both would stand out as a clear-cut number 1 prospect in the majority of wide receiver classes witnessed over the past decade. After them, you have Rome Odunze, who falls into a tier of his own in 3rd place, but would still stake a strong claim as the number 1 option in most other drafts. Add in 20 other prospects that project to go in the first few days of the draft, and this might be the greatest class of wide receivers the NFL has ever seen.